Alright, it's several days later after I made this video. I'm going to release it after this edit, as you know, because you're watching it right now. Just want to point out my experience with this amp, or any amp. You might have a completely different experience, because I had this amp plugged into the orange 2x12 cabinet, and I dialed it in, you know, what I thought sounded pretty good. But then when I plugged this amp back into my Harley BENTON 2x12 cabinet, which is what I usually use it for, it's completely different. I mean, on the orange cabinet, I had to really crank that treble a lot, you know, for it to sound good. Then I plug it into the Harley BENTON cabinet and it's way too bright, because the speakers on that one is way brighter for whatever reason. So I don't have to crank the treble on that cabinet, you know, it's only up about just over halfway. So it's also the same with the bass. The orange cab is a lot bassier, so you know, I can back off the bass on the amp. I did notice with the mid control that I noticed it more in the Harley BENTON cabinet than I did with the orange cabinet. So, you know, my experience, you may have a completely different experience. I just dialed in a completely different setting on the Harley BENTON cabinet and it sounds great. So depending on your cabinet, you may not have to push the EQ so hard. That's all I wanted to point out is, you know, a good or bad experience with an amp. You know, if you swap cabinets, you could have a much better experience, obviously. G'day, YouTube! I've had this amp head for several months now. I played it a couple of times, and after that, it's just been sitting there the whole time, unused. I never really clicked with it when I first got it, and I still haven't yet. But I thought I'd do a review / demo and see what I think of it now. And I haven't really given it a fair chance, I don't think. I haven't played it that much, just a couple of times, and then just put it away. So, first time I've powered it on for quite a while now, so let's go through it. The guy from Sonic Drive Studios loves this amp. I don't know why I've never clicked with it. It's alright, but let's give it another chance. Completely unrehearsed, off the cuff sort of video as usual. And as you may know by now, I don't highly edit my videos. I don't even bother double tracking guitar tracks. Just record it on the fly and you sort of get a good idea of what it's going to sound like, you know, with all my amp reviews when you're playing with it in the room. As little editing as possible, no mixing, no nothing, no double tracking, no effects. Just the raw sound you get. Yeah, with an overdrive as well, on and off. No trickery, I mean. Because a lot of times, several times now, I've gotten pretty hyped up about certain pieces of gear after watching some of my favourite YouTubers review them and rave about them, and then when I get them I'm like, this ain't as good as the hype, man. And then that ends up pissing me off, and yeah, so take everything with a grain of salt, I guess. And that's also why I rather just do sort of off the cuff recording of what the amp sounds like, and no post-processing fucking with it. Just mic it up, and that's it. Great, now the next door dickhead's starting to cut trees down. Making a video, motherfucker! Alright, I'll show you the front and back panel towards the end of the video, but I've got it set to 20 watts at the back instead of 40 watts. You can also set it to 5 watts and 1 watt. Treble at 9, mids at 9, bass at 9. Let's do it. What are you looking at? I know you hate Nirvana, okay? I can't do it with you guys looking at me. Fuck the clean tones. Just a few chords. Treble on noon. mid on noon, along with treble on noon from before. Treble 3 o'clock, mid's 3 o'clock. We'll put bass in the middle, noon. Getting a lot brighter. Go back to 9 o'clock, okay? Pretty muddy and muffled. Pretty money. I love money. Treble on noon, mid on 9 and bass on 9. Mid on noon, bass on noon, and treble on noon. Sounds better. Treble on 3, mids on noon, bass on noon. That sounds better. That's a lot brighter now and clear. Mids on 3. We'll leave the treble on 3. And let's put the bass up a little bit. Sound bad if you can actually play clean stuff. Ha! Crunch. So here's the EQ for the crunch. We'll leave treble, mids and bass on 9. Let's just put the treble on noon. Still very muddy. Mids to noon. Getting better. We need more brightness and crunch. About 10 o'clock there with the gain. Treble up to 3, why not? Leave the mids at noon, put the bass at noon. Treble on full. Put the mids on 3, bass on 3. I can't even really notice a difference between Sweeping the mids. Mids off. Mids at noon. Mids at 3. Mids on full. Bass. Treble. The treble's really sensitive. Bass, not too bad. The mids, I can't really notice much of a difference between sweeping it. But this is about as good as a crunch tone as I can dial in. All I've got is treble, mids, bass, gain, volume, no presence or resonance or nothing. So the treble's basically almost all the way up, just one notch away from full ball. Let's go to the high gain channel. Whoops. Hell yeah! Let's add more gain to that. Noon. More gain. I don't have a noise gate attached to it at the moment. Ah, it's a lot worse because I'm sitting close to it. Try the mids up a bit. 3 o'clock. Sounds pretty big and beefy, actually. It's not too bad. Fucking noisy street. Put the bass up to 3. Shall we dare crank the treble up a little bit? that's too much. About there's a sweet spot, I think. That's about as good as it gets without a overdrive, but let's get one. Tube screamer off. Basic riff. Tube screamer on, drive down, volume up, tone 3/4. Have to back the gain off a little bit. Might crank the bass up a little bit. Well, that sounds pretty good with the bass and mids and the treble pretty much cranked full ball, except for the treble's like one notch off full ball. Otherwise it's too fuzzy and bright. Alright, here's the front. Obviously power on and off. Standby and play treble, mid, bass, master and gain. That's for the red lead channel, and it's also shared with the crunch channel. But the crunch channel has its own master and gain right there, and then the clean section has its own treble, mid, bass, and master and gain. It's getting a bit dark in here. But as you can see, you've got a MIDI in. You've got a learn function here, but I haven't messed with that yet. Foot switch channel, I've got that plugged in right now. Also one for effects. Effects loop, send and return as usual. Oh, it's got built-in cabinet simulators. Hey, focus on that, motherfucker. Cabinet emulation, but I haven't tried any of that yet. So I guess you can just plug that directly into a audio interface and emulate a, whatever cabinet is built into it. There, what is it, red box, and off you go. Power soak, so there you go, I've got it on 20 watts, but you can also put it to 5 watts or 1 watt, or if you turn it off, it's the full 40 watts. I should probably explain it more when I learn more about it. I've forgotten now, but the TSC technology, whatever's built into it, apparently it informs you if there's a faulty tube. It's got 2 tubes disabled right now because I've got it set on 20 watts, but yeah. Otherwise, that's on full 40 watts. This thing gets bloody hot on top, by the way. You could fry an egg on there, literally. Just for your info too, so it's got 3 12/8x7 tubes and 4 EL84s in the power section. Well, to wrap up, there you go. TubeMeister, Hughes and Kettner, 40 watt head. Like I said, I didn't gel with it very well the first couple of times I used it, but in combination with an overdrive, man, it's so chunky. The only negative thing I can really say is, what's the deal with the mid not making much difference between sweeping from 0 to full? Or at least after halfway, it doesn't really sound like it's doing anything. Just wish they included a presence control on there and a resonance control. That would be the ultimate, but otherwise, crank the treble and put an overdrive in there and you're pretty much set. But some of you guys might like a darker tone, I don't know. I like a brighter, chunkier sort of high gain tone. Anyways, it does the job anyway. It was way overpriced though. Like $1,800 Australian. Whatever that is in American, must be at least 1300 or something. Overpriced what it is in my opinion, but it's a full tube amp, man. I probably should have spent the extra $300 and got a 50 watt EVH 5153 Stealth or one of those EVH amps. I don't know, I'd probably like those amps a lot better than this. But I'm stuck with this now, so I'll make do with it. It's still a damn good amp, so I'm going to play with it more in the future. So I'm glad I actually pulled it out and gave it a bit of a thrash today, because it's better than I thought anyway. See you later, guys. Have a good one. I'm not going to mic this up or anything, I'll just use the camera phones for this. That's chunky, man. That's thick and chunky. That sounds brilliant. And the treble's only, you know, just past halfway. Mids have got cranked up to number 3. Bass is in the middle. Noon. I really love the sound of this amp in the Harley Benton, you know, the brighter vintage 30s in this cabinet, man. It's mwah. This amp has really grown on me in the last couple of days, you know, trying it in different cabinets. I still should have got the EVH 5153 Stealth 50 watts, but maybe in the near future. Don't tell the missus.